Hi, I'm Kristen Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? You guys, it's an exciting day at Are You a Charlotte? Because Cindy Chupack is here. We have been waiting, so excited for you to come. Cindy came to be on the show as a writer originally. She's going to tell us all about it in 1999, many years ago. And you and Jenny then, in my mind, became like this super powerhouse pair who really took the reins of the female voice. You know, people would sometimes complain thinking we only had male writers because Darren was so out front and then Michael Patrick. But really, we always had you guys in my mind, and you really had such a really incredible input in terms of your own stories. And, for Charlotte, some of them were just so important from both you and Jenny. And for me, when I think of the show, that really, was the heart and the soul and the foundation of where our characters got to go and deepen into. So we're super excited to have you.
To hear.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny because Michael could write anybody and
he
we
can,
could write.
Of course.
Yeah. And I know you mean that, but yeah, Jenny was actually a friend I had made before I came aboard the show.
Oh, I didn't know this.
And I was working on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Well, I didn't remember this either.
This is a big thing because it was sort of like I had an affair with Sex and the City because I had been working with a writing partner for 7 years. And on the side, I used to write these columns once a year, this thing about dating for Glamour.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And then I could never use those as samples because when you're working with a partner, you have to do things you did together.
Right.
And I was working, she had kids already. So had been on all sorts of shows that weren't at all about what I was living.
Interesting.
And we were finally at a point where we were going to separate. And Phil Rosenthal, who ran Everybody Loves Raymond, let us each write an episode. So I had my own episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. And then I was going to write a spec. And Sex and the City had just started. It was in season 1. And I knew Jenny was working on it. And I told her I was going to write a spec and she's like, you should come in and freelance. You should come in and pitch.
Yeah.
So that's what Phil let me do from Everybody Loves Raymond.
I love Phil.
I mean, me too. I think he regrets it maybe still. But, which I didn't realize.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. We all really appreciate that you let Cindy cheat on Everybody Loves Raymond
Rosenthal,
with us.
I know.
He's a good guy. He's a
great guy.
He's a really sweetheart.
And those were great writers. That was I was finally on a good show that was going to last on Raymond. So my dad, who was an accountant, was like, what are you doing? But from the minute I pitched to Michael and Darren, and Jenny encouraged me, which was so nice of her to share that. So it was I was so excited to pitch because everything I had written in a little journal of things I wanted to write about or essays or a movie I might want to write, everything could work on that show because I was the same age as you guys at that time. It just felt like everything I talked to my friends about and everything I wondered about. And in fact, I was at Everybody Loves Raymond. See, this is such a long answer.
So no, it's good. We love a long answer.
I was at Everybody Loves Raymond and one of the guys brought in a VCR, remember that, of Sex and the City. And he's like, my wife loves this show. I don't get it. It was at lunch. It was the baby shower episode. And I hadn't seen it. And I remember all the boys slowly trickled out. It was mostly men on the show, of course, and at Raymond. And they all trickled out and went to lunch. And I was sitting there and I was crying by the end of it. I couldn't believe how much it spoke to about what I thought about and how deep it was to me. And the idea of, are you going to have a kid? And then remember, she had taken your baby name.
I do remember.
There was such big laughs, but there were also just to me, these really deep, meaningful conversations.
Absolutely.
That I hadn't heard. And so I was enamored of the show. And so I went and pitched and Michael and that's when I did the episode, The Chicken Dance, as a freelancer.
So I did not realize you were a freelancer and you did a absolutely iconic episode.
Oh,
I mean, Cynthia and I just talked about it last week, and Cynthia said, because they were asking me, where are you in the rewatching? And I told them, and I said, Cindy couldn't come on for Chicken Dance, but she's coming on for the next one. And Cynthia said, I recommend Chicken Dance to anyone who hasn't seen the show or young people who want to see it for the first time because it's not particularly dirty.
Right.
But gets the gist of the 4 women characters.
Oh, interesting.
Are. And that was, I thought that was so smart because all I remembered about the Chicken Dance was the difficult storyline that I have, which is, the groomsman's father groping me on the dance floor. So when I
you had like you had an entire relationship during the wedding with
which was also so bizarre, and
like
I remember nothing of it. Exactly, because that's so much fun about rewatching. There's so many great things. One is that there are things I remember really vividly, and then there's things where there's just nothing. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never know what I'm going to do. Like in the one that Jenny had written, the threesome one, where I'm having a dream and it looks like I'm about to have a threesome. I was like, am I going to have a threesome? Because I don't remember that. Oh my God, how brave of Charlotte. You know what I mean? But no, it was just a dream. I didn't have a threesome, but I literally don't know. And also in the chicken dance, I don't remember going up to the room that I'm preparing for the bride and groom and having sex there with that dude.
Very subversive.
That at all. Which obviously I didn't really have sex with him, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, pretty subversive for Charlotte.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of stuff, but then we come down and he tells me that I look like a whore in my beautiful dress. And I'm like, oh, but I think, and it's a good example because I think what you do so brilliantly, and really all of our writers, but when you came, you could get the embarrassment, the kind of going out on a limb emotionally with the humor, with the depth, all of those things.
Thanks.
And that's the specialness of the show, I think. And the writing is the reason for it.
Well, and then that you guys could carry off anything. That was so fun. It was like just.
But you guys, you don't really have writing like that very often, where it's really asking you to fire on all cylinders.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I feel like I remember about the show is just everybody was firing on all cylinders. And I feel like I knew it at the time.
You did?
I mean, partway in, I was thinking this is going to be the best job I ever have. And that's either sad or just like amazing that I'm here right now.
Wow.
But I felt like the actors, the costume, the directors we were getting. And, from the moment of like, nobody's heard of the show and somebody brought it in on a tape to like, I think when I joined you guys, that was the first year at the Golden Globes. And we were like jumping up and down in the kitchen and like suddenly people were watching, and then we'd walk around New York and you'd hear people talking about it.
Yeah.
So not only did I love what we were doing and who I was working with, but it was in the zeitgeist.
Very, yeah.
So I felt like this is everybody lightning in a bottle.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. And smart that you knew it. I mean, I don't know that I really knew it until I feel like I knew it third season. But
maybe I did. I probably didn't know it right away.
Right.
I just was happy to be there.
The joy of the actual experience was what was, so amazing, because you don't always have that, right? You can be on an amazing show. Everybody Loves Raymond is an amazing show. But like you said, it wasn't necessarily what you were thinking about in life.
Right.
And that was true for me also, obviously with Sex and the City. I'm a single 35-year-old, whatever, 34. Well, I don't know how old we were, something, 30 something.
Yeah.
And the things that you are already thinking of and talking about and or curious about or whatever is their story. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Like so unusual, and obviously hadn't happened then. And I don't know really has happened again, because I think we had kind of a unique situation in terms of HBO allowing us, to do whatever we wanted.
Yeah. And I think so much, there's very little that's not said anymore.
Well, this is true.
When we were out, it felt like there was still things to be said that people hadn't said aloud. And now
that's
I feel like
very true.
Maybe even partly because of us, not to take credit for that, but I feel like my friends who didn't used to talk about some of those things that we talked about then would, and men would too. And now everybody writes their own,
everything.
Everybody says everything.
100% absolutely right. So tell us back. So you wrote the chicken dance on spec. So for anyone listening who doesn't really know what that means, tell us exactly what on spec means.
As a freelancer, so I came in and pitched, and they listened to a few ideas. They liked that idea. That was really what was happening in my life right then. I had bought this house on my own, and everybody said, like, as soon as you buy a place, someone will propose. And then I had people house sitting, and they got engaged at my house.
Oh my God.
And I was like, it's supposed to be to me. And they had me write a poem for their wedding. So everything.
Oh my God.
And my boyfriend at the time.
Perfect example. No. He got up and left while you were reading the poem?
He didn't get up and leave, but he had given me the pink toothbrush head, which was like big to me.
Wow.
But then it's like they met, got engaged, we're getting married, and he's just my date. And that's as far as I got, is like the pink toothbrush head. Oh. And so I did start crying during the poem.
Oh.
Yeah. And I did kind of play it off as like, I was overcome by emotion, but really I was like, what is happening?
Oh my God. But see, the other thing that I love about having a podcast and getting to discuss things like this is that, there was always this kind of vague thought that the stories in the show were our actors' stories. And we would always try to tell someone, no, they're not our stories, because that'd be weird. Right. They're, our writers' stories, and they have a agreement that everything is going to be either their story or once removed, that people know someone who's actually going through it. But to hear you, how close it was to your life and how
it wasn't always that A to B. Like,
but
we definitely
in the beginning.
But that one, when I pitched it, they loved that idea. So I got to write that one.
Amazing.
And then I got to come to New York and be at the table read, which to me, because I had only seen you guys on television. And even though I worked in TV, I worked in, like in front of an audience in 4-camera.
Right.
Sitcoms, old fashioned sitcoms.
Right.
And this was like, you guys, I think it was at ABC Carpet during lunch when you were filming something at Equinox or something.
Yeah.
Already it felt really cool to me, but I was really intimidated. And I also was intimidated because the script you were reading had come off my printer. Nobody changed very much. I definitely got input when I was breaking the story and all.
Right.
But it was kind of like getting your bluff called because writers always complain,
Right.
so much got changed. But I was like, why did no one help me? If this is bad. This is just bad for me.
Oh my God. But it was so good. That's why no one changed it.
Well, and it was quiet because you guys were like grown-ups and you'd have to laugh so the network knew it was funny we did on a sitcom.
Right.
So it was really quiet and the whole time
That's
I was like, what is happening?
Oh.
Anyway, everyone was very nice afterward. And then after that, I asked my agent, do you think I could go on there? And so he asked and I got to go there. And then I think maybe they regretted letting me do it from Everybody Loves Raymond. But I was like, I'm already in love with this whole process of these people.
So then you left Everybody Loves Raymond altogether.
It was between seasons. So I just didn't re-up. But I think everybody thought I would because it was finally a successful show. And it was really fun to write. And I wrote about my family, but it wasn't like writing Sex and the City.
Of course, nothing is. Nothing was.
Yeah.
Obviously, for sure. And we're just so thankful that you came to us. My God.
I am.
I did have a very weird conversation, though, which kind of now has some interesting backstory to it. One time with Ray Romano on television where he told me that women weren't funny.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like,
interesting.
No, but we were on television, so I couldn't
do anything. What was that?
Some kind of a, was it Bill Maher used to have a show that had more than one person on?
Yeah, maybe that
show. So it was like a guy-based show, and I think I was the only woman sitting there. Do you know what I mean? And I was kind of like, and I think we knew you'd come from there on some level at least. So I was like, wait, is this a dig?
He's a Menchie guy, so I feel like maybe he was overstating, hopefully. And I just did a thing that was like a reunion of the Raymond writers. But I do remember, I said something funny, and I remember them kind of still looking surprised that I said something funny after all these years.
I mean, I do feel like, though, that's a real thing in comedy.
Happily. Not surprised, how could you? But just surprised I said something. Yeah, I remember thinking that.
It's a holdover from it's a sexist kind of a holdover that we still need to get totally rid of, right? And that was kind of the joy of our show, is that there were 4 of us and all of you guys started writing your own stories, and you were women writers. And yes, there was Darren and Michael Patrick, of course, but then we got more and more, and we're going to, obviously as we go on, we'll get everyone on, hopefully, because that would be really, really fun. Yeah. But, just to be able to succeed without it being a traditional sitcom, right? Because I think women obviously had already done great over there in regular sitcom land. Right. But to have it be kind of like a little, almost like an indie film, almost like a sitcom. Oh, it was
very different at the time.
Very different.
Whenever I pitched a sort of a woman-centric show, it was always like, okay, but they're dating, but what's their job or whatever. It was never could just be about friendship and dating really in life and in the way that was.
Right.
So it was really fun. And also, it did look very filmic. I remember people were really addicted kind of to a laugh track. So there was a lot of fear about what single camera was. And there was a lot of hybrid will be kind of single camera, but kind of audience.
Right.
But Sex and the City did such a good job of making it filmic, and I think using music, and it didn't feel quiet and empty. It was
not at all.
Yeah. So
cool. Not at all. But also to me, even when I look back, because I am so able to be more objective now than, because I only would ever watch it before it came out on HBO. They would give us the VHS and we'd take them home and watch them. And sometimes there'd still be placeholders or whatever. It wouldn't be totally finished. Right. And then I would probably not ever see it again, So I'm rewatching and so amazed by so many things, and so many things I'm like, it is so good. And I don't know that I was able to feel that at the time, to really sink in. I knew it was special and different. And I knew that our vibe when we were doing it had that crackly energy of something special, but then to see it now from all these many years later and see how the writing holds up, how on point you guys are about so many things, I think this is our episode that we're discussing today is Evolution, which you wrote, and Pam Thomas directs, who was a great director. And I don't know why we never had her back. Maybe you know. I don't know. We'll get there. I don't know,
but she was great.
So great. And it's got the incredible Dan Futterman in it, which we're going to talk to next week, which will be really fun. But the thing that I'm wondering about, because I just watched, this is when we have the incredible episode where Miranda talks about freezing her eggs.
Yes. I just rewatched it last night too.
Right?
The guy with the hair plugs.
Right? It's so good. But also that shot where they're in the freezer and Carrie says, right now there were no eggs in her freezer. Like, is that she was going to take her eggs and put them in the freezer?
Yeah, but Pam Thomas did that great, like from behind the freezer.
It's a great shot.
And also from behind the medicine cabinet, big medicine cabinet.
So good. I mean, she was so visual. Pam Thomas was so visual. But like, that's how new egg freezing was.
Yeah.
That first of all, this jerk on this date with her is going to, criticize the idea of, science,
right?
Creating babies or whatever. Oh my God. And then obviously he's just had hair plugs. So she's just like, wait, which is so well written and so great. But also the fact that then she goes into her freezer and there's vodka in there. And Carrie goes, for now, there's no eggs in her freezer. I mean, it's so
Carrie knew they wouldn't be in her freezer.
I know, but it's funny. It's funny. And it's funny because I remember at the time, egg freezing, everyone was like, wait, what do you mean? What is that? How does it work?
I remember and should I do that?
Right. Should we do
Is
this?
that smart?
Where do you go?
A fertility savings account. And,
right?
Yeah.
All of it was new.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about that.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I mean, because we did write a lot from experience, but I remember when we did all the infertility stuff for Charlotte, I hadn't had children yet and hadn't gone through that and then did afterward. And I remember a lot of that I think came from Michael Patrick King and his friends who had gone through it.
Right.
So again, the men could write the hell out of it, anything as well too.
Definitely.
But I felt later, wow, that we did kind of nail it. I was that was one of those things looking back, I went, oh, it did. I mean, I always felt I could have added more because now I understand more, but I do
thought
feel
the same thing with my acting.
Yeah.
I was like, I could have gone bigger.
I know, of
I
course.
could have done more. I could have done more big time. I don't know if that would have been needed necessarily, but once you start to go through those actual things, there is no high or low that is too high or too low.
Yeah, it's
in
true.
that field.
Oh my God, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the adoption too. Yeah. It happens pretty simply.
Yeah.
And it's not that simple, as we both know.
No, I know.
But I mean, I love that we did it. And maybe I don't even know if the show would have benefited from more detail. You know what I mean?
No,
it was more about the emotion.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes I just think back. Well, I just looked at it kind of in awe that you did capture it and it somehow captured, close to what it was. But it's true. You feel this is an odd thing to say on it, but I feel I knew women who had had miscarriages when I was younger.
Right.
But I didn't really know what that meant exactly to them and what kind of a loss that was.
Because I don't think people talked about it.
They didn't.
Which is sad.
And so it really didn't, there were some things you kind of do have to go through to understand the depth of what it feels like to the person.
100%.
And even if you have really good friends who went through it, it's just not quite the same. So
that's true.
There were times that I thought,
though I have to say, I think with the Charlotte miscarriage, I think the writing was beautiful and I had enough, I don't want to say loss because that's not exactly the right word, but I had enough understanding from my friends and from just my own personal journey. Not that I had been through that then. It definitely hadn't, but I had enough to draw on that I think, and again, this is one of those things where hindsight is 2020 in some ways, but then also our show has the ability to have the incredibly serious storylines, but still be able to get out, to come to a place. Yeah. So had we known more,
it might have
Charlotte
been
had been able to get up off the sofa, get herself dressed up and go to that party. I don't know.
Well, I should say, I think for you, I'm not going to speak for you because you're right here, but I think for actors, maybe you're used to playing things you know how to draw on other things. Yeah. And I guess as a writer, I did the same, but just sometimes when you're writing and something's going to be a real gut punch, you can feel it in your gut.
Yeah.
You don't have to have gone through it, but I can feel this almost makes me cry to write it. I know this is something.
Right.
I feel I kind of would have had more of that feeling during maybe, but that's okay. I still am happy with how it all worked.
I love how it turned out. And I think that people talk to me a lot about it now still. Yeah. So over time that's something that people connect with and isn't that the whole game?
Yeah.
Right. So yes, we can
No, I'm so happy that I do feel like I'm probably more critical, but I'm so happy it holds up. Like, I feel like, and that's because really the themes of it, the love, the friendship, the loss, the longing, the like loneliness, everything was a universal thing.
Yes.
That whether you're texting or you're waiting for a phone call, it was kind of universal.
Yes. And that's why I'm doing the podcast, really, because all these new people discovered it by being on Netflix. Right. And then people had asked, since podcasts became a thing, and I just didn't feel ready to look at it because we were all together doing, and just like that, I felt like I had kind of a good vantage point of like, well, we're here now and look at how we began. Right. And also I haven't watched them. And also I really wanted everyone's stories to be told. This is the joy of podcasting, right? Yeah. So all these people who've been our fans forever or new people can hear about what it was like to create it. And like you're saying, like, the feeling of being in New York in the beginning when we didn't really know what it was going to be, but it had that like sizzly feeling, you know, and like that process of like walking around and having people start to talk to us about it and all of that, like being there is incredible to think about. Yeah. It's amazing.
It was really exciting.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think even if it hadn't caught on, it was really nice to be writing and doing something that felt so, relevant to what we were going through and what our friends were going through.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to have a little just moment to talk about it. And just like that, weather and just like that, obviously never going to be Sex and the City. I don't ever think we ever thought it was going to be Sex and the City. But again, we wanted to tell the stories of what we're going through in our 50s. Right. I think that's an important point, right? Is that like, here we were, it was COVID, COVID had just ended. We were just able to go back out. Yeah. And the thing that we had always been doing was talking about what was happening for us in our lives at this time. Yeah. Not necessarily my Kristen story, but like
all the people we know and just like life goes on.
Yeah. And why wouldn't that be something? But I think maybe we were a little bit overly ambitious thinking that our fans would... I'm going to laugh. I shouldn't really laugh, but it's kind of funny when I think about it now, like how naive, in a way, at least I was, that our fans would want to see us like aging and talking about death and cancer. Do you know what I mean? Like we were like, yeah, let's do it. And then everybody's like, what are they doing? Do you know what I mean? And now it's over, which is sad, but I'm not really going to go there. But I'm in denial because we've ended so many times.
Hello, it's Danielle Fishel,
Ryder Strong,
and Will Friedle from Pod Meets World. And we're bringing you Viva Las Content.
That's right. We are back in Las Vegas, the city of sin, and giving the people what they want. A full week of Y2K content.
Wait, we're back in Vegas? Tell me why.
Well, for the Backstreet Boys residency at Sphere, of course.
We sat down with Kevin Richardson and AJ McLean just minutes before they took the stage, and our very own Will Friedle basically became the newest member of the band.
Boy band, please.
Plus, the man who has the longest running comedy show on the Strip joins us and gets his props. It's Carrot Top, baby.
And finally, we all LOVE her. Ashley Simpson-Ross joins us to talk about her upcoming sold-out Vegas residency.
It's a full week of nostalgic interviews you don't want to miss.
Listen to Pod Meets World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Pretty Private with Ebony, the podcast where silence is broken and stories are set free. I'm Ebony, and every Tuesday, I'll be sharing all new anonymous stories that will challenge your perceptions and give you new insight on the people around you. On Pretty Private, we'll explore the untold experiences of women of color who faced it all: childhood trauma, addiction, abuse, incarceration, grief, mental health struggles, and more, and found the strength to make it to the other side.
My dad was shot and killed in his house. Yes, he was a drug dealer. Yes, he was a confidential informant, but he wasn't shot on a street corner. He wasn't shot in the middle of a drug deal. He was shot in his house, unarmed.
Pretty Private isn't just a podcast. It's your personal guide for turning storylines into lifelines. Every Tuesday, make sure you listen to Pretty Private from the Black Effect Podcast Network. Tune in on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is coming back to Las Vegas. September 19th and 20th. On your feet! Streaming live only on Hulu.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bryan Adams, Ed Sheeran, Fade, Glorilla, Jelly Roll, Sean Fogerty, Lil Wayne, LL Cool J, Mariah Carey, Maroon 5, Sammy Hagar, Tate McRae, The Offspring, Tim McGraw. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. Get your tickets today. AXS.com.
Your entire identity has been fabricated. Your beloved brother goes missing without a trace. You discover the depths of your mother's illness, the way it has echoed and reverberated throughout your life, impacting your very legacy. Hi, I'm Dani Shapiro, and these are just a few of the profound and powerful stories I'll be mining on our 12th season of Family Secrets. With over 37 million downloads, we continue to be moved and inspired by our guests and their courageously told stories. I can't wait to share 10 powerful new episodes with you. Stories of tangled up identities, concealed truths, and the way in which family secrets almost always need to be told. I hope you'll join me and my extraordinary guests for this new season of Family Secrets. Listen to Family Secrets Season 12 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hola, it's Honey German, and my podcast, Gracias Come Again, is back. This season, we're going even deeper into the world of music and entertainment with raw and honest conversations with some of your favorite Latin artists and celebrities. You didn't have to audition?
No, I didn't audition. I haven't auditioned in like over 25 years.
Oh, wow. That's some real G talk right there.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some of the biggest actors, musicians, content creators, and culture shifters sharing their real stories of failure and success.
Yo siento como que esto es mi destino.
You were destined to be a
Sí,
star.
eso es lo que yo quería hacer.
We talk all about what's viral and trending with a little bit of chisme, a lot of laughs, and those amazing vibras you've come to expect. And of course, we'll explore deeper topics dealing with identity, struggles, and all the issues affecting our Latin community.
You feel like you get a little whitewashed because you have to do the code switching?
I won't say whitewash because at the end of the day, I'm me.
Yeah.
But the whole pretending and code, it takes a toll on you.
Listen to the new season of Gracias Come Again as part of My Cultura Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.
So let's talk a little. I'm wanting to hear more. So you said to your agent, I want to go right on that show. Could I go right on that show? He says, yes. He gets you a deal over there. You leave Raymond. You move to New York.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like we did half and half at that time,
right.
remember?
Me too.
Yeah.
Right. We were all back and forth. So you kept your house here. You went to New York.
Yeah.
And then were you and Jenny, you would have your own scripts.
Yeah.
But you, at some point, were you consulting producers and then executive producers? What was that journey like?
I can't remember. I think I was already like a co-executive producer at Raymond. And I think I just came on as a consulting producer because literally it was a big pay cut from what I was doing. I was finally making money, but I was like, I don't care what the title is. And there were anyway, it was just that. It was like, I'll work for whatever. And
Nice.
at the time, and then of course it was great. But I think it was just like, I don't care about the title. I just want to be there. So I started as a consulting producer.
Got it.
And then, eventually became a co-executive.
You and Jenny both.
Yeah.
And were you together with Jenny in terms of like, we're a partnership co-executive producer? That's how I felt you guys were.
Huh.
But I don't think you technically were.
No, we were
You're
just
not like Julie and Elisa are a technical partnership.
No, I think we just like were in sync a lot of times. And we were like the two girls, and when it was like Michael and Darren, and but
she was. You would have your own scripts.
Yeah. We did. We collaborated on one like we collaborated on Splat at the very end.
Splat, ooh.
And that was so fun to write with Jenny. So
my gosh,
but I collaborated with Michael on a different one too. So yeah. But anyway,
that's
I loved
nice.
working
So it
with
was like kind of a small group of writers at that point, and you would collaborate and or just be in the writers' room together.
Yeah.
Brainstorming and then on the set with us all the time, which is the other thing people really don't realize.
No.
And was that unusual for you at the time?
Well, yeah, it was my first single camera, so I hadn't even been on those kind of sets, like, out in the world.
Right.
But also, even since then, like I've done a lot, and I haven't ever been on a show where you're there that much, and where even you're doing the writing there, like either in a restaurant nearby or upstairs by the cameras.
Or on the set with your laptop open on your lap, which would be Michael Patrick King.
Yeah,
you know
because he liked to be there, and like not all showrunners want to be there for everything, and so we would just go along, and while we were still writing, but it was great because we got to really like see the process.
And also it was great for us because, if we had a question, we could just go over to you and we didn't have to worry if the director we didn't feel was like totally knowledgeable about the characters or the storyline or whatever. We could just check in with you guys, which was amazing.
Yes.
Right? No?
Yes. No, you could. I don't know if all the directors loved that.
Oh, maybe the directors didn't love it.
You know what? On my very first one, on Chicken Dance.
Yes. Oh.
I think you asked me something, which I answered because I didn't know the protocol of all that. And then I remember the director at the time, who I saw recently at a DGA thing, and she's still angry with me about this. And I was like, I didn't know. But anyway, she said something at the time like, oh, is that what we're going to do? Good cop, bad cop? And I was like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing. I just answered a question. My God. But anyway, that was unusual. Most of them totally appreciated and it was but
she never came back. So
please, if you're listening, Victoria, I am sorry. I didn't know how it worked. I was new. I was just excited to be there.
Yeah. But, and I'm sure I was just excited to ask you a question and you should answer.
I remember it was like, is that how we're going to play it? And I was like, I don't know.
But you know what I think that is about? And I think it's interesting to think about it. That is about the old school TV ways.
Yeah.
Because there was a hierarchy.
Well, and in film, it's really still the director who's supposed to talk to the actors.
The film is very different. They don't even want the writer to come.
Yeah.
You should not go to a film set if you're a writer unless you're like an Oscar-winning writer.
Right. But I remember, and this is a better experience than that. I remember, I know you had Ellen Coulter on, who I loved.
Me too.
I think I had written one. It still took me a while to understand like the rhythm of a film set because like we see as soon as you finish filming one scene, you go see the rehearsal of the next scene. Nobody's in costume yet. They haven't done their hair and makeup for that scene. You see the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And then the director comes up, they light, there's so much that happens. Well, the rehearsal to me was like the first time hearing the actors read it since like the table read maybe. And if
there
at
might
all.
be changes.
Yeah. So I remember with Alan one time, I like had thoughts about it and he goes, Cindy, and this was nice of him to tell me and I remember it forever. He said, this would be like me leaning over your shoulder while you're writing a first draft, telling you like what I think. Like I'm going to work it out. The actors are going to have thoughts. And then if you still feel like there's issues. And he was right. And it took me a while to just learn the rhythm of like when it was okay to interject or good to interject. Because a lot of times you guys would arrive at whatever was bothering me from the very beginning. Or
that's good.
And it was only like once in a while would there be something in the staging of the rehearsal that you knew you needed to say something because it was going to be too late. They were going to light.
For sure.
But it took a while to learn.
But it makes sense because in your mind, you have written the scene. Therefore, you have visualized the scene.
Right.
And that's the weird thing about writing, right? Is like in our industry, writing, of course, is tremendously important. But then sometimes you guys are kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah.
Like, please be quiet now, which is not really fair because it's a collaborative art space. We can't do our job by ourselves and you can't do your job.
Yeah.
And you can write it, but then it's just going to be on the page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we could act by ourselves, like on the street or whatever.
Yeah.
But, we need each other. And then the director's in the middle of it all. And depending on the director, they're either more open or less open or, whatnot. I mean, everyone's different. And I also think it's so interesting, the vibe that's created. And one of the things I love about the old show and the new show, is that it was always a very creative, place where people, like I always felt before we ever had a title or anything, right? That I was very included in the process, in Charlotte's trajectory and her arc. Mike would always sit us down at the beginning before we went to work and say, this is the plan. And then he would call us if it was changing, or he'd come grab us on the set and say, can I talk to you? And, then we would come to you. Like if we read something, I remember one time I had one of those really long Charlotte monologues, where I just talk for like half a page or whatever. And I'm upset about something. You know what I mean? I think it was in the Trey era. And I came to you in the hallway of Silver Cup and I was like, Cindy, I just feel like, it's just hard to, because remember how we had to be word perfect.
Oh, yeah. It's comedy.
It's comedy. It's exact, right?
It doesn't have to be though. Yeah.
I mean, that was the precedent set. And I think it's a good one because we didn't have an audience there to tell us if we were hitting the jokes, right?
Yeah.
So we had to trust the writing.
Yeah.
We had to trust the rhythms of the writing.
Yeah.
And the rhythms of the writing, and let me tell you, when we did And Just Like That and we brought our new actors in, I mean, they're still talking about how hard it is.
Oh, really?
Because it's very specific.
Yeah.
And each character is also very specific from each other. And like my rhythm of talking, my syntax is not the same as Charlotte's syntax, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes, depending on who wrote what episode, you'd be like, oh, I just can't say this. I just can't get my mouth to form the words. You know what I mean? And I came to you and I was like, can we change that? And you were like, no.
Did I? Oh my God.
Yes.
That's so rude of me. Well, since Sex and the City, I feel like I've worked on, and when I directed a movie, I really wanted it to be a bit more playful and have more room for that. Like, I think, but I have noticed, because I've now worked on some dramas, and I don't know why, because I love comedy so much. So I feel like I should be just doing that. But I've worked on dramas, and I feel like it's somehow less precise, and it can be, because it's very much the feeling and the plot, and like you want the. But comedy, sometimes it's just like, it's not funny one way and it is funny another way.
Yeah. I think it's the rhythm of the words. You know, the rhythm of the words is super duper important. And I think the rhythm of the actors is also important, because you can't really teach comic timing.
Yeah.
But I think that they have to work together, right? And so sometimes you guys would change stuff. And I remember thinking that at the time, I don't know what was true, but I remember thinking I probably waited too long, because you know how there'd be like right after the table read, different people would request changes. And, do you know what I mean? I waited till the hallway.
So you're the same as me on the set. Like, when exactly do I interject?
Right,
where it's not too early, but not too late.
But I also think for so long, I never asked for anything, because I was just so happy if Charlotte had a storyline, right?
Yeah.
And so it was getting to where like I had a lot more because of Trey, and I had these long, like emotional things, rather than, because in the beginning, at a certain point, I have my like didactic, like, I'm going to get married and I've got this book and this book says na, which I haven't really gotten to yet, which I thought was first season. But first season, I'm just kind of there, like, you know, not quite 100% knowing what to do or whatever.
You can't tell at all.
Thank you so much. When I look, that's what I see. I see me underneath a layer of like pretend calm. You know what I mean? Which obviously all of us feel at some point. But I feel like
I knew Charlotte right from the baby shower from my first episode I watched.
I know, but you're very Charlotte, which I remember. Jenny also, Upper East Side. You know, like once you guys came, I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I'm going to get some good storylines. They get me. They get me. I mean, me, but also Charlotte. You know what I'm saying?
Like, romantic. I mean, I think of it just like the romantic side of it. Yeah.
I mean, you got married with a white horse.
I mean, and then divorced.
I was going to leave that for a dark horse. But I mean, look, you know, all of us have our you know, our visions, and we try to make them come true, right? And that's kind of glorious.
No, it is. That's
you do your
the beauty
best.
of Charlotte, I think. She was like
very
ever optimistic.
100%. And she was also like, you know, she was going to work hard. She was going to do what it took. She was not going to give up. You know, got to love that.
Yeah.
Hello, it's Danielle Fishel,
Ryder Strong,
and Will Friedle from Pod Meets World. And we're bringing you Viva Las Content.
That's right. We are back in Las Vegas, the city of sin, and giving the people what they want. A full week of Y2K content.
Wait, we're back in Vegas? Tell me why.
Well, for the Backstreet Boys residency at Sphere, of course.
We sat down with Kevin Richardson and AJ McLean just minutes before they took the stage, and our very own Will Friedle basically became the newest member of the band.
Boy band, please.
Plus, the man who has the longest running comedy show on the Strip joins us and gets his props. It's Carrot Top, baby.
And finally, we all LOVE her. Ashley Simpson Ross joins us to talk about her upcoming sold-out Vegas residency.
It's a full week of nostalgic interviews you don't want to miss.
Listen to Pod Meets World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Pretty Private with Ebony, the podcast where silence is broken and stories are set free. I'm Ebony, and every Tuesday, I'll be sharing all new anonymous stories that will challenge your perceptions and give you new insight on the people around you. On Pretty Private, we'll explore the untold experiences of women of color who faced it all: childhood trauma, addiction, abuse, incarceration, grief, mental health struggles, and more, and found the strength to make it to the other side.
My dad was shot and killed in his house. Yes, he was a drug dealer. Yes, he was a confidential informant, but he wasn't shot on a street corner. He wasn't shot in the middle of a drug deal. He was shot in his house, unarmed.
Pretty Private isn't just a podcast. It's your personal guide for turning storylines into lifelines. Every Tuesday, make sure you listen to Pretty Private from the Black Effect Podcast Network. Tune in on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Your entire identity has been fabricated. Your beloved brother goes missing without a trace. You discover the depths of your mother's illness, the way it has echoed and reverberated throughout your life, impacting your very legacy. Hi, I'm Danny Shapiro, and these are just a few of the profound and powerful stories I'll be mining on our 12th season of Family Secrets. With over 37 million downloads, we continue to be moved and inspired by our guests and their courageously told stories. I can't wait to share 10 powerful new episodes with you. Stories of tangled up identities, concealed truths, and the way in which family secrets almost always need to be told. I hope you'll join me and my extraordinary guests for this new season of Family Secrets. Listen to Family Secrets Season 12 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Everyone thinks they'd never join a cult, but it happens all the time to people just like you. And people just like us. I'm Lola Blanc.
And I'm Megan Elizabeth. We're the hosts of Trust Me, a podcast about cults, manipulation, and the psychology of belief.
Each week, we talk to fellow survivors, former believers, and experts to understand why people get pulled in and how they get out.
Trust Me, new episodes every Wednesday on Exactly Right. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is coming back to Las Vegas. September 19th and 20th. On your feet! Streaming live only on Hulu.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bryan Adams, Ed Sheeran, Fade, Glorilla, Jelly Roll, John Fogerty, Lil Wayne, LL Cool J, Mariah Carey, Maroon 5, Sammy Hagar, Tate McRae, The Offspring, Tim McGraw. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. Get your tickets today. AXS.com.
All right, should we talk about this particular
Let's do
episode?
it,
Okay,
yes.
great. So this is Evolution, which is also like such a great, I'm just rediscovering all of it when I watch it because I don't really remember it exactly, you know? And
I thought I did. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, I forgot that storyline. I forgot the fertility, like the eggs.
Me too.
Freezing your eggs was in there.
Me too.
I forgot the Samantha story, which is like, I love that moment. There's a moment where Charlotte is like Samantha getting her heart broken was more confusing to Charlotte than a kiss from a gay man.
I know.
And you're like, you're just bewilderment at everything in this episode. I love.
I know. I really enjoyed it. But also, I totally forgot John Shea.
Oh, yeah.
Was in our show. How
Yeah.
could I not remember this? I was like, oh my God, what am I watching?
And we had
What
so
am I
many
watching?
great.
And he's so good. We had so many. I mean, and right now is when like it's really kicking in because
Yeah.
people know what the show is now.
Yeah, they want it
Third
to be.
season is going to be, next level, right? But
Yeah.
like now is when we're really getting all the good people and writing
Yeah.
all the good storylines. And it was so sad for Samantha. I
Oh my
felt
God.
really bad. I didn't remember this at all.
Yeah.
That she has this whole plan, that she's basically this man, John O'Shea he's almost like a different version of Mr. Big in a way,
Mhm.
right? Where
Yeah.
she dated him when he was, a big deal. And then he dropped her for a model that he married. And then they broke up and it was an ugly divorce. And he had fallen in stature, which kind of made me laugh because now if you're having an ugly divorce, I don't really think it affects the men. Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't know.
Might affect the women, might not. I don't know.
Right.
It's like everyone's having an ugly divorce,
Right.
basically. But whatever, that was
I
interesting.
think he said like he fell from the cover of Fortune to like page 6.
Exactly.
So like he was just gossip fodder.
Exactly. But so then she has a whole plan. And I love the way that you created this storyline for her because it makes total sense and you don't really see it coming that it's not going to be like
Right.
a kind of regular Samantha storyline, right?
Yeah.
She has a whole plan that she's going to date this man again, even though Carrie's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He really hurt you. And we're all like, huh? What? Oh, what?
Yeah, Carrie
You know what I
says
mean?
like he is the man who broke her heart, and you're
Right.
just like,
Like,
what?
what?
And yeah,
Didn't know that was a
deep
possibility.
backstory that
Right.
Samantha got hurt.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And she seems, you see that in her performance where
Yeah.
she's like, well, I have a plan and I'm going to leave him before he does it to me.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't go to plan.
Yeah, I think her plan was like, right before they even have sex, she was going to be like, goodbye. Then she's like, well, maybe after sex. And then maybe she gets all pulled into it.
Because she thought she wouldn't have feelings.
Yes.
Because that, if you think about the very first pilot episode, she's like, I'm going to have a sex like a man without feelings.
Right. Yeah.
So it makes total perfect sense.
Yeah.
But she wasn't born like that.
Yeah.
Right? She went through things to get there. So it's kind of an interesting like backstory that we kind of don't ever really get.
Yeah.
Which was also, I literally mentioned my parents, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Charlotte has some parents, you guys. They're in Connecticut. I think we knew that part. And then I think also previously in a Jenny episode, I say, oh, we don't talk about feelings either. We just are very good at tennis.
And which episode? I can't even remember which episode, but the one where you're on the spawn, you're like, I didn't grow up in a naked house. Remember that?
I forgot
that was
about
also,
that. Good one,
I think
Cindy.
we would know that, though.
I mean, there's little tidbits where if we collected them all, they make a pretty good picture.
Yeah.
But I love the whole that we don't spend time on the backstory, generally speaking. But okay, so we have this. Let's just talk about our guest stars for a second because they're so great. So we've got John Shea as Dominic, who's the Samantha storyline. We've got Dan Futterman with me. Just a dream.
Dreamy.
I mean, in every way.
Because the episode, we're not sure Charlotte, like, if he's gay or straight, goes on a date with them, like, says, I didn't even wash my hair. I wore glasses. Like, it wasn't a date. And then he kisses her. That's amazing.
And it's good.
So when we were casting, when Dan Futterman, I can't even believe he came in to read because he's like a big actor. Why would we even have him? But anyway, he did. And both Jenny and I were enamored and Darren and Michael were enamored. And we're like, this is perfect. Everybody loves him.
Yes. Now, let me ask you this about this storyline, because this is one of the storylines when I thought back on it, because it's Futterman, all we remember is Futterman, right? Yeah. But then I did remember that there was some kind of a metrosexual conversation, which was a word at the time, but it's not a word anymore.
No, I mean, I don't know if this one ages that well, the discussion of gay straight men or straight gay men.
Right.
Like, this is one of those things where I look back and I think, well, at the time it seemed hilarious and forward thinking. And now it feels like very binary. And like, I'm embarrassed that that was how we talked about it. But you kind of, I don't know if you can judge like you then to you today.
It's 1999.
If we were writing it now, though, we wouldn't write it that way.
No, of course we wouldn't write it that way. But I also thought, because I had Benito Skinner on last week. Have you watched his show, Overcompensating? Oh my God, it's so good, Cindy.
Okay.
Not only is it so good, he quotes Charlotte often, which is adorable, on his podcast, not in the show.
Okay.
And he told me when he came on the pod that he created videos for Instagram during the pandemic and then put them on YouTube. And this is how he became successful.
Wow.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
He's incredibly inspiring and awesome. So when he got his show picked up at Amazon Prime, it's called Overcompensating, and it's about kind of pretending that he wasn't gay and overcompensating so that no one would notice that he was in fact gay, and the journey to in college coming out.
Right.
It's a very funny and adorable show and very reminiscent of early days Sex and the City.
Yeah.
He told me when he came on the pod that once he got the show picked up, he was like, oh my God, what do I do now? And he watched the show throughout the whole show 3 times to study the structure.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
I mean, I think that's the thing is that there's still very individual stories. There's still men who have a lot of trouble coming out. There's still women who are confused if someone's gay or not. And people who are confused if they're gay. Like, it's all very fluid.
He wasn't inside confused, but he was presenting confused. So like, he has a best friend that he tries to date, but they don't have sex because he's actually gay. And he kind of knows he's gay, but he doesn't want anyone else to know. So then he brags to the frat boys that I can't repeat it. It involves sex, whatever. He brags, and then she finds out, and then they have a fight, and then they make up, and they're best friends.
Right.
And so what he said to me is it's like the healing of having, gay friends, gay male, whatever, with women friends. Like, there's a healing in it, you know, and they can like rely on each other. And I thought that was just so great.
I think for me, the lesson is like, you can tell any individual story that's true, and that's true to you. Like, if that's so, I think that's a defense you can still use, and it can be as specific, and I think what was fun about Sex and the City at the time is that we could make these pronouncements that felt real and like in the zeitgeist and did start conversations and were fun, but they were kind of generalizing about men or women or gay, So at the time, it seemed hilarious that we were capturing something that seemed true, but I think maybe because it was trying to be generalizing, that made it like, when you look back, maybe we were.
Well, I also think at the time, I believe that we were all going around talking about metrosexual, and they were all writing in magazines about metrosexual, which I think, I don't know if I'm right, but it was basically like a straight man, theoretically, who grooms himself like a gay man.
Right. And culturally, like we thought,
would have cultural
dress,
kind of
style,
relevance.
all the things that we
whatever.
thought were gay.
Right.
Which are not necessarily, but like great
gay.
Style, great culture references.
Right.
And,
But we don't ever use the word metrosexual in the episode, which I thought we did, but we don't. We talk about gay straight men and gay straight gay men or whatever, which also like, I was like, I don't even know what the heck we're saying, but whatever. It's super interesting. Right. But basically I do ask him, have you ever been with a man? And then he asked me if I've ever been with a woman, and I don't answer, which I find weird also. Right. And then this is what I thought was also interesting, because I couldn't remember the details. I just knew it was like a questionable storyline, right? But it's also Dan Futterman. So we love him.
I love it still. Like
Me
I
too.
stand by it. I just think like some of those things didn't age as well. But I still love the storyline and like you trying to make sense of like
what is happening. Yeah. And then at the end, when the mouse is there and he jumps on the chair and kind of squeals, and then the voiceover says something to the effect of Charlotte wasn't well enough developed in her masculine side to be with someone who was so well developed in their feminine side.
Yeah.
Something like that, which is a very deep statement. And that's fine to say, isn't it?
No, I think it, I mean, I think as, I mean, I love that whole, as someone who's been confused myself and married someone who realized he was gay after being married, I feel uniquely qualified to say that it's confusing sometimes.
Yes, it is confusing.
And you do kind of want some clarity sometimes just because you need to, I don't know. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting clarity.
Yeah. And so I love though that in that scene when you ask him in bed and he says like, I'm a pastry chef who lives in Chelsea. If I were gay, I would be gay.
Totally.
Like, which was really smart at that time. Like, it's true. Like, he wouldn't,
like,
he could
why
be.
wouldn't you just be gay? You would be doing great.
He would be great.
Yeah. You'd be very busy and your schedule would be booked. And you're adorable. So, you know.
I also love in this scene where you bring Carrie and Stanford to the place for the pastries.
It's just
to
so
decide.
Good. Yes. And it must have been like the casting of Futterman, because literally everyone at the table likes him.
Yeah.
Right? Like Willie says, Stanford says, well, I'm attracted to him, so he must be straight. Which is so funny.
Because all the good ones are even the gay. Yeah. All the good ones are straight, even the gay ones.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Stanford, oh my God, Willie.
I know.
I miss Willie already.
Willie. Oh.
That's a fun one to rewatch though of him. And
so fun. All right, you guys, it is too much fun to have Cindy Chupack here. So we are going to come back for part 2 later in the week. Please join us on Are You a Charlotte?
Hello, it's Danielle Fishel,
Ryder Strong,
and Will Friedle from Pod Meets World.
We are back in Las Vegas and giving the people what they want. A full week of Y2K content.
Tell me why.
Well, for the Backstreet Boys residency at Sphere, of course.
We joke and say this is our second marriage, but it takes a lot of communication.
Plus, it's Carrot Top, baby.
And finally, Ashley Simpson Ross joins us to talk about her upcoming sold-out Vegas residency. Listen to Pod Meets World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Every case that is a cold case that has DNA right now in a backlog will be identified in our lifetime.
On the new podcast, America's Crime Lab, every case has a story to tell, and the DNA holds the truth.
He never thought he was going to get caught. And I just looked at my computer screen. I was just like, gotcha.
This technology is already solving so many cases.
Listen to America's Crime Lab on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're looking for another heavy podcast about trauma, this ain't it. This is for the ones who had to survive and still show up as brilliant, loud, soft, and whole. The Unwanted Sorority is where Black women, femmes, and gender-expansive survivors of sexual violence rewrite the rules on healing, support, and what happens after. And I'm your host and co-president of this organization, Dr. Leatra Tate. Listen to The Unwanted Sorority, new episodes every Thursday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So what happened at Chappaquiddick? Well, it really depends on who you talk to.
There are many versions of what happened in 1969 when a young Ted Kennedy drove a car into a pond
and left a woman behind to drown.
Chappaquiddick is a story of a tragic death and how the Kennedy machine took control. Every week, we go behind the headlines and beyond the drama of America's royal family.
Listen to United States of Kennedys on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Bob Crawford, host of American History Hotline, a different type of podcast. You, the listener, ask the questions.
Did George Washington really cut down a cherry tree?
Were JFK and Marilyn Monroe having an affair?
And I find the answers.
I'm so glad you asked me this question.
This is such a ridiculous story.
You can listen to American History Hotline on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.